Why Chinese tech giants are embracing the metaverse despite state media warnings. That sounds like, all the Chinese tech giants are going against the Chinese government in terms of the metaverse. So what really is going on there? Chinese metaverse plans, how advanced are they? How much funding is flowing into the space, and who are the main players? And how does this conflict or doesn't conflict with the Chinese party's agenda? That's what I want to talk about today. Let's start with this headline. I mean, this really seems like there's a lot going on there. Chinese tech giants are indeed looking heavily at the metaverse and at the opportunities in the metaverse. I found one nice statistic here. From September to November 2021, there were 26 domestic metaverse-related investments and 35 overseas. So domestic were just 10 million yuan, and the overseas ones 10 billion yuan. Compared to the China VR AR industry, which amounted to 2.1 billion yuan for the full last year. So just these 3 months have already eclipsed the amount of financing that flowed into the VR and AR industry in terms of what went into metaverse financing. Now, these kind of statistics, especially in China, you always need to be very careful. I mean, I know too many founders who just lied about their rounds, who said instead of we raised a 150 million RMB round, but in reality it was just a 50 million RMB round. You can't verify these things. And so when we read statistics like that, we always need to take it with a grain of salt. Could be that this is a little bit off, but at least some of these investments will really have happened. And so that's quite indicative of the fact that the metaverse seems to be some kind of thing in China. Now, what players are acting here? Of course, we have the typical suspects. So Tencent, Baidu, NetEase, Alibaba, ByteDance. These firms are highly active. And when it comes to the metaverse, now these firms have two possibilities. Either they acquire, so they do M&A, corporate development, or they build themselves. Tencent, we know they have a history of, being very active, investing, acquiring companies. They invested into Wave, a US virtual concert organizer. Obviously a very intelligent, seems like an interesting move into the metaverse. Tencent does a lot of these things very music related. They have Q Music, a Tencent group. They plan to enter into the NFT field with this music platform. They invested into Roblox. They have this gaming studio, Timi Studio Group. So Tencent is really pushing hard into this metaverse direction, especially in the gaming and music verticals. And it makes sense. I mean, it's Tencent, so that's what's at their core, right? Now, Baidu, they have been all over the web with this thing called Xirang, Land of Hope, which is their metaverse land. Okay, so that's how they call it, Xirang. And I've seen a couple of pictures. It looks great, but then again, all of these metaverses that we're seeing right now look very interesting. Xirang is more on the realistic side, so you can't just teleport anywhere, but you take the train. And rightfully so. Ma Jie, the vice president of Baidu, says the metaverse is still in its infancy, and there's still a long way to go. So they are pushing into this direction, but they also acknowledge that it will take some time. NetEase, they basically, William Dingley, he said, well, we're very active in terms of the metaverse, doing a lot of different things, but failed to specify what exactly they're doing. But NetEase is one of these players where I think they could really develop, as opposed to acquire, develop a couple of very relevant technologies and advancement when it comes to the metaverse. So keeping my eyes on NetEase. Alibaba, for them, it's very interesting. I mean, you have these big real estate developers like New World Development Group in Hong Kong, who have major problems with their malls, because people just don't go into malls anymore, right? Even in China, where people love to go shopping and all these malls are filled with luxury shops, right? But they have problems filling these malls. And so for them, the metaverse is an interesting playground, obviously. For Alibaba, it's also because if now you can, have an experience shopping on, Coach, Longines, and so on through Tmall or Taobao in a very realistic way through the metaverse, that sounds very interesting. So let's see what they will do. And ByteDance, they said they had this VR headset maker acquisition of Pico in August. So ByteDance did a lot of moves in the VR, AR direction, and is obviously also active here. Okay, so that kind of seems to be the conclusion. All these players are very active, but then the Chinese government seems to be prohibiting it, or they are not really in favor of the metaverse. What's going on? As it turns out, that's really just the state media. So you had a couple of outlets that basically came out and said, a couple of state-owned outlets that said, okay, let's be a bit careful with the metaverse. Can't find it anymore. But you had a couple of outlets coming out and saying, hey, let's not become too speculative here. The metaverse is very, very young. It kind of right now encourages speculation, investing into different metaverse startups and ventures, some of which probably don't have anything to do with the metaverse. So this feels very bubbly in times, and that's what this state media outlet basically said. Let's be careful here. At the same time, of course, also the Chinese government. I mean, they are all over the place when it comes to these new developments. Also, NFTs, right, have been officially banned. So if you search for NFTs in WeChat groups, you will not find it. Usually it's N*T, so they don't spell out the name of NFT because it's been forbidden, because it allegedly encourages speculation. So now you still have NFTs, they're just not called NFTs. Long story short, Chinese government is very active here. Chinese government is extremely intelligent, so they would never simply ban the metaverse. They will never say, okay, there's no metaverse in China, but they know that the metaverse offers some possibilities for unwanted opinions, unwanted commentaries to spread, and the metaverse offers a couple of levers that could be dangerous to the Chinese Communist Party. And very logically, so they don't want that. So what they are saying, and what they are always saying, whenever some new technology pops up, what they are always saying is, we are going to do it, but we're going to regulate the hell out of it. So we're really going to be careful here. And sometimes that's positive, sometimes that's negative. It's not always negative when some of these technologies are over-regulated. Sometimes that's actually quite healthy, and you see that the West now is considering a very similar direction. For example, when it comes to social media, we always said no regulation at all, and now you have all these people crying for regulating Facebook and so on. So that's really what it looks like right now. I'm definitely going to be interested how the metaverse develops in China, and whether with all that regulation coming out of Beijing, whether it will be able to fulfill all the promises that are being made right now. Because it's difficult to imagine a metaverse that is so regulated and doesn't offer any surface area for attacks towards the Chinese government. But that's just a very humble, early, extremely early, immature opinion. So let's just wait for new developments, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And leave some comments. Let's discuss your thoughts.